Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Did Savannah Chrisley give up on prison reform when parents were released? Fans of Chrisley Knows Best saw Todd and Julie Chrisley get an early release from prison thanks to a presidential pardon back in May. During their time behind bars, the Chrisley family, particularly Todd and Julie's daughter Savannah, famously discussed prison reform. However, since then, fans are wondering if this will still be the case for the star now that Todd and Julie have been released. Savannah Chrisley previously gained a reputation as a poster child for prison reform. The Chrisley family became famous through the USA Network series, Chrisley Knows Best. Back in 2022, Todd and Julie were found guilty on a variety of charges, including bank fraud and tax evasion. Originally, the two were expected to spend a combined sentence of 19 years behind bars. However, they received an early release after being granted a presidential pardon by President Donald Trump. During their time in prison, members of the family, including Todd and his daughter Savannah, have discussed prison reform. As previously reported, even back in 2023, Savannah had been dubbed a poster child for prison reform. At one point early on, there was even concern that her attempts to raise awareness could end up causing more harm than good for her parents. Since their own release, Todd and Julie have often discussed prison reform. As previously reported, during a recent episode of their podcast series, Todd recounted an emotional moment when he left prison, with other inmates asking him not to forget them. However, with their release, some fans have felt that Savannah has calmed down her efforts to fight for prison release. Taking to social media, one fan asked, "No more prison reform talk or efforts from Savannah?" As the fan continued, "Haven't really heard her speak about it ever since her parents got released." However, the fan acknowledged that just because they didn't hear anything as of late doesn't mean it hasn't been happening. Some fans think Savannah is just busy dealing with her parents' return. Others have other ideas. As the fan noted, maybe she is doing things behind the scenes. But knowing how vocal she is like Todd, I don't think that's the case. Taking to the comments, many fans shared their own reactions to the idea. Some noted there was some dissonance between Todd's comments while behind bars and since his release. In recent conversations, Todd seemed to emphasize receiving special treatment while in prison, usually emphasizing that he had to make his demands clear with staff. As another fan wrote, "That's so confusing too because when he was imprisoned, she was talking about how bad it was and the conditions. But once he got out, he had been talking on the podcast about how his stay wasn't bad and how he would get food from restaurants brought to him and stuff like that." A few fans also felt that her main focus was seeing her parents pardoned. Others felt that these things take time, pointing out that there were times Savannah felt that wouldn't happen either. However, others felt she is busy dealing with her parents returning to her life, as well as the family's new Lifetime docuseries. Some comments included, "For her part, Savannah also talked about what she has planned since her parents' return on her Unlocked podcast. In a solo episode, she touched on her journey since her parents' pardons and shares the emotional roller coaster she experienced during that time." For over 2 years, Savannah Chrisley became one of the loudest reality TV voices, speaking out on behalf of inmates and their families. The Chrisley Knows Best star used every media appearance, podcast episode, and Instagram live to talk about what she saw as glaring issues in the American prison system. Her passion was personal. Todd and Julie Chrisley, her parents, were serving a combined 19-year sentence for federal bank fraud and tax evasion charges. From the moment they reported to prison in January 2023, Savannah's life turned into a whirlwind of cross-country prison visits, urgent legal filings, and tearful on-camera confessions about what her family was enduring. She became a kind of accidental activist, telling her followers, "You don't understand prison until your loved one is in there. And once you do, you can't unsee it." But now, in 2025, Todd and Julie are home. Their sentences were reduced after a mix of legal appeals, policy changes, and good behavior credits. The Chrisley homecoming was heavily covered by entertainment outlets. The tearful hugs, the first family dinner in 2 years, the paparazzi flashbulbs catching Todd in his signature suit instead of a beige prison uniform. What has many people wondering, though, is this: has Savannah's fire for prison reform cooled now that her parents are out? Or is she just finding a new way to channel it? When Savannah first started speaking about prison reform, some critics dismissed it as self-serving. Of course she cares, her parents are in there, they scoffed on social media. But over time, her efforts took on a broader scope. She interviewed other families on her podcast, Unlocked, giving a platform to mothers who hadn't hugged their children in years, spouses separated by thousands of miles, and inmates enduring extreme heat in facilities without air conditioning. She wasn't shy about naming specifics, posting photos of poorly prepared prison food, calling out the lack of medical care for chronic conditions, and pushing for legislation to allow earlier releases for nonviolent offenders. In doing so, she risked alienating parts of her fan base who preferred her glossy, scripted USA Network days to this raw, unfiltered reality. Savannah didn't seem to care. "If speaking out means losing followers, then I'll lose them," she said in one fiery Instagram story. "This isn't about likes, it's about people." A sudden silence. Since Todd and Julie walked free, the prison reform content on Savannah's pages has noticeably slowed. Where she once posted almost daily updates about conditions inside, she now shares more lifestyle photos, beauty tips, and promotional content for upcoming projects. That shift hasn't gone unnoticed. One follower commented, "Glad your parents are home, but what about everyone else still suffering?" Another wrote, "You said you'd keep fighting even after they got out. Where's that energy now?" It's not an entirely fair criticism. After all, Savannah's life has been turned upside down again, this time in a positive way. She's no longer managing prison visits and endless legal calls. She's helping her parents reintegrate into life outside, rebuilding family routines, and reviving their entertainment brand. Privately, a source close to the family says, Savannah's not done with prison reform, but she's exhausted. This fight took a lot out of her, and now she's figuring out how to fight smarter, not louder. A new battlefield. In an interview last month, Savannah hinted at what might come next. "I've learned a lot in the past 2 years about the law, about advocacy, about the media," she said. "If I'm going to keep speaking on prison reform, I want to do it in a way that actually changes something, not just makes noise." She mentioned working quietly with legal teams and advocacy groups instead of leading every conversation herself. "It's not about me being the face of this anymore. I want to make sure the right people have the microphone." If true, that would mark a shift from her early, highly visible approach to a more behind-the-scenes role. It could also be a strategic move to avoid accusations that her activism was only fueled by her parents' incarceration. The risk of public perception. The challenge for Savannah is that public memory is short, and celebrity activism often gets tied to personal stakes. When Kim Kardashian campaigned for criminal justice reform, some accused her of using the cause for PR. When Meek Mill spoke out about probation laws, critics said it was only because he was caught up in them himself. For Savannah, keeping her credibility means showing up for the cause even when it's no longer her crisis. The optics of going quiet could undermine the genuine work she has done, especially among grassroots advocates who've been at this for decades without a camera in sight. That said, the burnout factor is real. Advocating for change in a system as complex as the U.S. prison network is a marathon, not a sprint. Savannah may be taking time to regroup before diving back in, a wise move if she wants to avoid becoming a cautionary tale of celebrity cause fatigue. Family first. For now, if there's one thing that defines Savannah Chrisley, it's her fierce loyalty to her family. For 2 years, she carried the emotional weight of being the primary caretaker for her younger brother, Grayson, and niece, Chloe, while navigating her own heartbreak over her parents' imprisonment. Now, she's savoring moments she dreamed about during the long months of separation. having her mom's cooking again, hearing her dad's booming laugh in the house, sitting around the dinner table with no walls or glass between them. That's not nothing. For a family that was splintered by both legal and physical distance, these first months back together are a time of healing, not just celebration. In her own words, "My parents being home doesn't erase the past 2 years. It doesn't erase what they went through or what other families are going through. But right now, I'm taking care of my own so I can be strong enough to take care of others again."